the ties that bind how collective ritual built civilizations. Hello there! Thanks for joining me as we explore one of the most subtle yet powerful forces in human history: ritual. We often think of rituals as elaborate ceremonies or religious rites, but they come in all shapes and sizes, from ancient burial practices to modern-day graduations. Today we'll dive into how these shared behaviors and traditions shaped our evolution and knit together the foundations of human society. By the end, you might see every handshake, holiday gathering, or community event in a whole new light. Let's start by clarifying what we mean by ritual. A ritual is any activity that follows a specific sequence of actions, often loaded with symbolic meaning. Think of lighting candles on a birthday cake and singing happy birthday. Everyone at the party knows how it goes. The cake comes out, the candles are lit, a song is sung, and the candles are blown out. We don't do this just for practicality, we do it because it carries a certain emotional weight. Recognition of the person's special day, shared joy, and communal participation. Now, imagine going back thousands of years, to a time before we had formal religions or established social structures. Our distant ancestors already had rituals. Things like funerary practices, dances around a fire, or initiations that marked the transition from childhood to adulthood. Why did they do this? These actions weren't just random. They served to bind the group together, pass on knowledge, and create a sense of identity. Archaeologists often trace the earliest rituals to burial sites. For example, we find Neanderthal remains that appear to have been carefully placed, sometimes with tools, animal bones, or flowers. The logical question is, why would a group of hominins spend precious energy on someone who can no longer provide food or protection? Perhaps because they had an emerging sense of an afterlife, or maybe because this ceremony strengthened social bonds. By the time we get to Homo sapiens, the evidence of ritual becomes even more pronounced. We see cave paintings depicting animals and hunting scenes that some researchers believe were part of spiritual or ceremonial practices, maybe intended to influence the success of the hunt. These artistic expressions aren't just pretty pictures. They reflect a shared set of beliefs or intentions. When a group gathers to perform or witness a ritual, they align their emotions and intentions, creating unity and mutual trust. One of the leading explanations for the evolution of ritual is that it functions as social glue. Imagine a group of ancient humans living in a dangerous environment. Cooperation is key to survival. No single individual can stand guard, hunt large animals, and raise children all on their own. Yet living with others involves tension, disagreements over resources, fear of deception, and the stress of sharing personal space. Rituals help ease that tension. Through synchronized movements, chants, or recitations, people get on the same wavelength, literally. Research shows that when people engage in coordinated activities, their heart rates and breathing rhythms can sync up. This creates a sense of unity. In many cultures, rhythmic drumming or dancing has been found to enhance group cohesion. When you've drummed or danced all night with someone, you feel a connection that goes beyond words. That bond might mean the difference between collaborating effectively or leaving each other to fend for yourselves. But there's another angle to rituals that might seem strange. Some can be quite painful or resource-intensive. Think of fasting, scarification, or extreme rites of passage. How did these evolve? And why would anyone submit to them? In evolutionary biology, there's a concept known as costly signaling. The idea is that for a signal to be believed, it has to be somewhat costly or hard to fake. For instance, if you go through a harrowing initiation rite to join a group, you're proving your loyalty and commitment. You're showing that you're willing to endure pain or sacrifice resources for the sake of belonging. In turn, the group trusts you more because your actions demonstrate genuine investment. These kinds of rituals reinforced loyalty and identity within early human bands or tribes. They also served to differentiate one group from another. If your group had a specific tattoo or scar that identified you, it discouraged people from switching sides too casually. And in a world where alliances could mean survival, being part of a cohesive group was crucial. As human societies grew, so did their rituals. We can see the progression from small-scale gatherings around campfires to massive temple complexes like Göbekli Tepe, built over 11,000 years ago. Göbekli Tepe predates settled agriculture in some regions, indicating that large-scale ritual gatherings may have preceded, and possibly driven, the development of farming communities. Why gather in one place to build monumental structures if not for some shared, transcendent purpose? Ritual sites drew people together, encouraging them to stay and collaborate. While they were there, they might share new hunting techniques or trade valuable goods. Over generations, these gatherings could evolve into permanent settlements, sparking the rise of agriculture. And once communities settled down, rituals took on even more complexity. Priests and shamans emerged as specialists who led ceremonies, interpreted omens, or communicated with the spirit world on behalf of the group. Rituals often come with stories, myths, legends, or ancestral tales. These narratives explain why the ritual exists, what it commemorates, and why it matters to the group. In pre-literate societies, oral storytelling was the main way knowledge passed from one generation to the next. A ceremonial dance might retell the story of a hero's journey or the origin of fire, embedding cultural values in the group's collective memory. Over time, these stories become foundational myths that define a people's identity. Think about the epic tales passed down in various cultures, the Greek legends of gods on Mount Olympus, the Norse sagas of Valhalla, or the intricate cosmologies of indigenous societies worldwide. Rituals keep those stories alive. Through repetition, they imprint core values and lessons into the community's psyche. Another important aspect is the emotional resonance rituals produce. During a shared ritual, the heightened atmosphere, created by music, movement, lighting, or sometimes the presence of revered objects, induces a sense of awe or deep focus. That emotional charge isn't random, it cements social bonds and personal convictions. Think about a modern example, a graduation ceremony. Hundreds of students wear matching gowns, march in unison, and listen to inspiring speeches. They line up, shake hands with a dignitary, and receive a symbolic piece of paper. On the face of it, it's all quite formal and structured, but the emotional impact is huge. Students and families alike feel a profound sense of achievement and unity. That's ritual at work. It's not so different from ancient human communities who performed rituals for seasonal changes, like equinoxes or solstices, where people recognized their dependence on nature's cycles. Everyone participated in celebrating the arrival of spring or mourning the dying light of autumn. The result? A shared understanding of time, life, and survival. Rituals also played a part in moral development. By regularly participating in ceremonies that celebrated virtues like courage, loyalty, or wisdom, individuals internalized these values. The group collectively demonstrated what kinds of behavior were praised or condemned, thus guiding social norms without the need for endless debates or written laws. Punishments could take a ritual form as well. Exile or public shaming ceremonies might reinforce the boundaries of acceptable behavior. These practices weren't just punitive, they also served to remind the rest of the community what happens when someone violates the social contract. The consistency of these moral messages, delivered through ritual, maintained stability and order in early societies. Rituals might sound static, but they can adapt over time. When a community changes, maybe they adopt new agricultural practices, migrate to a different environment, or encounter other cultures, their rituals can evolve. They might incorporate new symbols or merge with traditions from neighboring groups. This blending creates a tapestry of evolving traditions, each strand holding remnants of a distant past. For instance, many of today's holidays, like winter festivals or harvest celebrations, have roots in ancient pagan rites. Over centuries, these rituals have been layered with new cultural or religious meanings, yet they retain some original elements. This flexibility allows rituals to remain relevant and meaningful even as the world transforms. Of course, not all rituals are positive or beneficial. Some can entrench power hierarchies or exclude outsiders. Historically, certain rites were used to legitimize kings or pharaohs as divine rulers, placing them beyond question. Others serve to mark who belongs and who doesn't, sometimes with violent or oppressive outcomes. We also see examples of harmful practices that persisted because they were sacred or traditional, such as certain forms of blood sacrifice. While these may have had social or religious justification in their context, they highlight that rituals can be wielded for control, fear, or manipulation. Recognizing this darker side is important for understanding how rituals can both unite and divide. In our modern world, we might not gather around the fire to pray for a successful hunt, but rituals still pepper our daily lives. Think of how we celebrate birthdays, national holidays, or even how sports fans have pre-game traditions, chanting team slogans, wearing lucky shirts, or tailgating in the parking lot. Though the context has changed, the structure remains, a repeated set of actions imbued with shared meaning, forging a sense of community and identity. Even on social media, people create mini rituals, like the routine of sharing a particular type of post on a specific day, or collectively mourning a celebrity's passing. These digital rituals may be ephemeral, but they show that our human inclination to come together symbolically persists. Our current era often focuses on individual achievement and personal freedom. Some might argue that we've lost the sense of communal ritual that once anchored our ancestors. Fewer people attend religious services and family gatherings sometimes feel fragmented, but new forms of collective expression are constantly emerging. Events like music festivals, protests, and online communities create their own ritual-like practices. You can see the same unity, emotional resonance, and symbolism that ancient ceremonies had, just manifested in modern contexts. Take a music festival where fans dress up in themed outfits, chant lyrics in unison, and participate in communal art projects. This is essentially a collective ritual, energizing and uniting people around a shared passion. Interestingly, some researchers and community leaders are asking whether intentionally designed rituals might address contemporary issues like social isolation, stress, and cultural polarization. Could regular community gatherings, whether secular or spiritual, help bridge divides and foster empathy? Think about it. If rituals evolve to create social cohesion and reinforce trust, perhaps we need them more than ever in a fragmented digital landscape. Groups and organizations sometimes hold retreats or workshops that include team-building exercises, mindful group reflections, or shared creative tasks. These can act as modern rituals, offering a sense of unity in an otherwise atomized society. So what's next for the human ritual? As global cultures intersect faster than ever, rituals will continue to mingle, transform, and inspire new ones. We might see more hybrid ceremonies, merging elements from different faiths or cultural backgrounds. Technology could give rise to virtual rituals where people from different corners of the world log on and participate in synchronized activities, like a virtual vigil or a digital celebration of life events. The essence of ritual, a shared sequence of symbolic actions that unite people emotionally and cognitively, won't go away. It's simply too deeply rooted in our biology and social psychology. It may adapt, take on new forms, or be reimagined for future generations, but the core human need to come together in meaningful ways is as old as our species. Rituals might appear trivial on the surface, a set of strange actions repeated over and over, but as we've seen, they're anything but trivial. They helped early humans cope with loss, celebrate triumphs, and stand together against threats. They offered a form of cultural cohesion that no single leader or law could fully replicate. They shaped moral codes, fostered cooperation, and even propelled our ancestors toward building entire civilizations. The next time you participate in a ceremony, whether it's a wedding, a funeral, a graduation, or even a small personal tradition, take a moment to appreciate the deep ancient currents running through it. You're not just going through the motions, you're part of a lineage that has used ritual to connect, unite, and find meaning in an often uncertain world. Thanks for joining me on this exploration of how ritual shaped our past and continues to influence our present. If you found it enlightening, feel free to share your thoughts or maybe even reflect on the rituals you keep in your own life. Until next time, remember, every time we come together in a shared practice, we're echoing a timeless human story, a story about connection, belonging, and the ties that bind us all.